If anyone's listening to this, that's how wealthy people create wealth.
Like you got to have a little bit of Dylan keeping it under control. But I will say people liked our tangent, you know?
Yeah.
We literally had a borrower for our lending company who's like, this is an awesome thing because I'm going to go and sign docs to buy a property with you guys while I'm listening to Dan talk about like India skyscrapers or something.
India skyscrapers and like eyeliner for men or some shit. I don't even know what you're saying.
Eyeliner.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. I am your host, Mike DeHaan, here with Dan Austin and Dylan Cook, who is back today. If you missed last week's episode, Dylan was gone. And so Dan and I did what we did successfully for many years. Thank you, Dylan, is just talk about nothing for an entire 35, 40 minutes. And we had a great time.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said, you've told me anyway, that the downloads went up when I started coming on the podcast. So
they did, for sure. And you know what? Last week, it maintained the level that we've been at for a while.
So who knows what it is?
You need to catch your title.
Dude, like content in general is really tricky right now. Like this is why you see all these, we've talked about this before, like all the dorks getting into YouTube because the YouTube algorithm is like fundamentally better, right? You have to produce good content in YouTube, but like it actually does have a platform for people to discover you where podcasting kind of doesn't. Like I have a GoPod friend of mine who's started doing YouTube stuff like a lot. He does a couple times a week. He's making several $1,000s a month now off of just his ad spend from those. And his videos get a lot of views, but what he has to do is like, there's a very templated kind of like photo that he has to use. Everything has to be like fear mongering, right? Because people just...
Right. It's very doomy, which I don't like. Yeah.
It's always has to be doomy. Like people don't want educational stuff. People don't want whatever. I mean, it's same with like this, right? Like if you look at a lot of the top podcasts, a lot of them are news pundit kind of like political influencers are like the big, like Tucker Carlson kind of people, right? Like those are the biggest podcasters right now.
Yeah. Or they already had some clout from something else, like the All In guys or Rogan.
For sure. So yeah. So let me rephrase that. Like the people that have grown in the podcast space that aren't coming with like a previous history, they have to be kind of like doomers for everything. And that's, I don't know. It's silly, but
I don't like the incentives. Like I know the guy you're talking about and I've seen some of his stuff and don't get me wrong, content's great, but it's always like the world is falling every single day. And that's now how I make money.
Totally. And the problem is that spurs just like this toxic sort of thing with, everyone feeling like the world is collapsing all the time. There's the whole Charlie Kirk incident last week. I've never seen, it's been a long time since I've seen so much just like doomer posting from my entire social media, from people that haven't been active on social media for like years. It just brought like everything doom and gloom out of the woodwork. And the problem is that, yes, the incident was very extreme, but it's also now like they're constantly sharing and like pushing all this other like doomer stuff. And then all the news cycles kind of like jump onto it because they're all now like trying to ride the momentum so they can maximize their ad revenue over this period of time where people are like engaged and stuff. It's a freaking nightmare.
I don't know if you like, if I scroll on X and there's like the two columns, there's like the for you and then like the suggested for you. If you just like filter back and forth between those two, it's a totally different like feed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because the one that's more algorithm driven is all the stuff that's like very doomy, like thinks you're going to get the most clicks. That's most trendy right now. But if you go to like the other column, that's just like the people you follow. I don't know exactly how it works. It's just basic stuff that I would expect. So,
well, and that's the problem is like all these platforms, they push that towards you. So like I made a story post during the Charlie Kirk thing. And typically my stories will get like 200-ish views. Like it's kind of high. So I have like 4,200 followers. So not a lot, just like 200-ish views. That story post for some reason got 1,500. I have no idea why. Right. And then all of my other stories around that were down to like 200 again. So it saw like the AI that freaking Instagram has, Meta has, saw this topic and said, let's show this to everybody.
Which makes sense though, right? Because it's like, what is everybody talking about?
But like we shouldn't do that, right? Like honestly, it shouldn't look at explicitly negative things.
That is 100% the goal of it though.
That's the goal of it, totally. But I would say if you're trying to have an actual, like I would say free market, uninfluenced form of media, it shouldn't be like forcing things that it knows will cause conflict, outrage, conversation, quote unquote. Because if you, let's say you're going to make a post about something that's more positive, say it's Super Bowl team wins, whatever. That same thing doesn't happen, right? Like why?
It kind of does though, like on certain things, but you're right. The negative gets so much more emotion because people are like, oh, cool. Yeah, my team won or what, right? Like Super Bowl's a big thing or like a big sporting event. But the negative stuff is just so much more satisfying.
Like all the big social media platforms literally hire like trained psychologists to make, how do we make this more addicting? That's literally like job titles there. They don't call them addiction specialists, but it's basically what they are.
Right. You know who's the best at it that I actually kind of appreciate this? I don't do it very often, but the YouTube shorts, like if you slightly show them if you like something, it just fucking drills you with that same thing. Like there's no like, we'll test over here. It's like, no, you want to see this? I'm only going to show you this.
They'll try more unhinged shit until you stop.
Yeah.
I know, dude. Well, it sucks because then if you like stay on something for even like 5 seconds, that's all you have now forever until you like intentionally see something else out.
You've seen them. Like it's like a meme where it's like, oh, I set my phone down face up with like some like an ad that you don't really care about, but now that's all your phone shows you is because it thought you looked at it for 15 seconds.
Totally, dude.
We've all had the experience though too, where you talk about something, you just like mention it like to your wife or whatever, and all of a sudden you're getting ads for it. I'm like, you fuckers, like get out of my phone, stop listening.
Yeah, I get a lot of Grindr advertisements.
I bet you do.
Yeah, I bet you do, man.
So we're just going to let that sit. You guys can take what you want from that one. Anyways, well, Dylan, welcome back. Did you want to dive into what you went through? Because I do think there are some good business and just like general life lessons from that.
The reason I missed is mostly because I got in a, I guess, somewhat serious car accident.
You were going 60 miles an hour. I'd say that's pretty serious.
Yeah, the airbags were deployed, car was totaled, EMS was on the scene, etc. And I had to wear, I got pretty banged up, but like lucky nothing broken, no head things that I'm aware of.
Your face doesn't even look that much worse, dude.
The surgeon did a great job. Anyway, so like all that to say, like I guess for the severity of the incident, I walked away pretty okay. But I was banged up last week. And so if you're going to the lessons to take away from this is have your estate stuff lined up. I'm 32 years old and I could have been worse. My family was not in the car. It was only me. So that was lucky. But have you go to an attorney and just have the basic stuff, and whether that be beneficiaries for retirement plans or some kind of roadmap where, like, if I would have passed away and my wife would have been dealt with just the portfolio and the active rehabs that we have going on, they would have all went to shit, right? And so that's kind of like a wake up call. Like, if she doesn't want to be involved, at least have the resources so that she can figure it out, or the right people to talk to. This is our insurance guy. This is our lawyer. This is our finance person, whatever it may be.
I think like a huge thing there is, like you said, have the resources, right? And this is something that we harp on a lot. And I really wanted to bring this up for a real estate show, is because real estate people are notoriously non-liquid. They tend to have an incredible amount of equity and very, very little cash reserves. And that's fine if you're only thinking of like, well, here's my reserves, my risk for my rental properties. What happens with like the reserves and risk for your actual everyday life where stuff does happen?
Yeah. And if people have a shit portfolio, they dump on their spouse who doesn't usually know anything about it. Mm-hmm. And they want that to like run. How's that going to happen? I mean, could your wife take over your rental properties, Dylan?
No, she couldn't.
Not that you would expect her to, but.
No, but there's about a third of my portfolio is still under third party management. And the instruction would just be give everything to him. And then, and then he's a friend of mine too. So,
well, even like on top of that, right? So you had to buy a new car. Obviously, you have to have the money to be able to do that. You have to deal with your medical bills over the short term, and while the insurance process goes through that, which can take a long time. Like there's just the general inconvenience of like, let's say that you had like your laptop in the car. You have this like general stuff that happened to be damaged or get lost or whatever. And now you have to like replace your entire setup. You know, there's so many different pieces that like I'm thinking about people that I know that are quote unquote wealthy real estate investors that they would be stressing about that, you know, and that's a problem. Like that's such a silly position to put yourself in.
You have a 7-figure net worth, whether it's 1 million, 10 million, whatever, and you can't grab $100,000 easily. Like you're really, like you're screwing yourself. And you should, I mean,
you can't grab $100,000 easily without like refining or a line of credit. Like,
right. Like you can't dip into your bank account or a line of credit or just sell something real quick that like a stock or something that you've got, some of your Bitcoin, something that's relatively liquid. Like you have to have some liquidity. If you're all in on properties right now, you're not going to want to sell it. You know, most markets are down and your paper net worth is way less than it really actually is.
It could quite literally make you a distressed seller.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like what we target. Yeah.
Totally. And like right now, to your point, what you said right there, Dan, is if you did need to sell those assets, that's not something you're going to do in the next month, right? Unless you're becoming a distressed seller and selling it at a huge discount. Realistically, in a lot of markets, you're looking at 3, 4, 5, 6 months to be able to gather that. And then depending on your state, so Washington is really bad for this. There's a handful of other states that are as well. There's also an estate tax, right? That will basically have additional tax on your assets that are being moved down. And that is regardless of how much of that is liquid, right? So if you don't have it in a trust, which will allow you to kind of get around a lot of these estate taxes. So Washington State, basically how it works is you die, your stuff passes down to your next of kin, to your spouse. If it was owned directly by you and not jointly by your spouse, that estate tax needs to be paid within 6 months of your death. And it's going to be based on the amount of your entire estate, right? So very realistically, your spouse could now suddenly have like $1 million freaking estate tax bill. Where's the money going to come from? If you don't have, this is where like things like whole life insurance actually makes sense, because you need to have that whole life insurance, not so they get $1 million, but so that they can pay the estate tax, so that they don't get taxed to oblivion and have to basically upend the entire life that you guys built together, so that she can just like not have to go into bankruptcy, I guess. Like that's why those sort of products exist, but you need to think about that.
Quick aside from this, good that ties along with it. I know of a very successful real estate group that was 50-50 partners, and they did not have, like, this would be good for you guys if you don't have it. It's like a business life insurance policy that if the other person passes away, you get paid out. His partner passed away and they end up having to sell 50% of their portfolio so he could pay the wife of his partner who died.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that is kind of weird.
It was all equity.
Is that like a key man policy? Is that what they call that?
I don't know what it's called, but I would just ask your insurance guy. But it's basically insurance for the other person.
Yeah, you could get insurance for people. Yeah, I don't know if you'd call it key man, but something similar. I've heard of it. On that, so I got two questions. One, I guess more of a statement is like the interesting thing is the way I have it set up for, notes when I die of like what to do. Like it's like go to these resources, and because Mike and I do have a shared portfolio, which we have been shrinking. The idea is that Mike, it's like, okay, here's what I believe they're worth, right? Here's what, if I died today, which you got to update this spreadsheet, but this is your PFS basically. Here's these properties. Here's what I would do if I was to sell these, and then leverage Mike to handle that. It doesn't mean we have to sell them, but like, this is what I would ask to do. And then you're banking on some level of trust of your business partner to like, at least not be a dirtbag, which I trust Mike wouldn't like try to rip my wife off after I die.
Nah.
Yeah.
And you could put guardrails into that conversation, right?
Yeah, you can say they require appraisals or stuff like that when they sell stuff like that.
Right, exactly. And that's you could put a lot of that stuff in your operating agreement or a separate agreement and stuff like that.
This is also where trusts come in, like the irrevocable or trust, or like you can put in there, this can't be sold for 10 years. And it's like whatever you can say.
Right. And I think, between Mike and I, we've been pretty, I would say we're taken care of because we're both decent people, but also, there's probably some things that we could do, especially around like the businesses, not the properties, but the businesses. Like, how do you handle that? Because you still have 50% ownership, but what does that business need to look like? And is there a buyout and all that stuff? But the thing I was going to ask you, Dylan, is like, what are you going to do now to set yourself up or to set your family up in case you do die really suddenly? Are you looking at researching or doing anything different?
Yeah, so we had the basic stuff done. Like I said, the beneficiaries, life insurance, some of the estate stuff, but not all. We have a transfer on death on all of the properties, like in the deeds or operating agreements. So I guess I am having another meeting next week with our family business attorney, I guess. And we're just going to review everything. All the business 4 downs, like holding entities, what's underneath. And then Amanda, my wife, like, she's not involved, but she knows what's going on, if that makes sense. So like she knows what we own. She understands most of it. And we do have once a month meetings. So I think she would figure it out. I think what she wouldn't know is, what do you want me to do with these properties if I were to pass away? So like that would be the conversation, and probably putting that in writing somewhere. Because some of these are even for like our daughter. Like, I want one of these to be for her when she's 18, 20 years old. So like just stuff like that are a little bit more nuanced.
Yeah, that stuff where like getting a trust as well would probably make sense for you, because then you can have not only just your wife, but you can have a third party that can help make those decisions, an attorney or beneficiary. Your wife would be the beneficiary or your child, but you have another trustee. Yeah,
the trustee,
it can be
right?
A third party. It can be like a friend. I don't know if you have like a brother or like someone like that can also help. And what you do is they basically get ranked on kind of like their priority. So if your wife's like, I don't know, I need to seek assistance, there's someone that they are designated to seek assistance from that should be equally as informed or should be legally allowed to get the same information that she would have and can help her make an informed decision.
Luckily, I do. I'm rather organized, I guess. Like we have a Dropbox file where you could probably find everything. We have like the passwords for most of our stuff that you could figure out. So it would be a little bit of a treasure hunt, but it's not like it'd be impossible. So if that answers your question. I don't know if that's perfect or if you even have advice for that, but that's the plan.
I mean, I think it's very individual. I think it's hard to give advice on stuff like that because everyone's opinion is different on level of risk. The complexities are different. The states, there's different state laws on what you're allowed to do.
But even the refis that you guys did for me, like there's prepayment penalties on those. So you don't want to touch those versus some that you've owned for maybe 10 years, right? Like,
yeah. The thing that I've thought about, and then I guess I'll give like maybe my things that I've done because I don't have a sophisticated trust or anything yet, but I do plan to put one into place as it makes sense. One is a password saver that you and your whole family that needs access to it can have that because like, I don't know how it is in your families, but like usually one spouse always takes care of like a segment of things, right? And another one does other things. Like I pretty much run all the financials and stuff for our family. And I also get tired of my wife asking me for the password for, random shit. Like, cause like you're like, oh, I forgot the password. And it's like, so a family password that you and your spouse have access to. So anytime you guys have a new thing that has a password, you just put it in there and you can kind of capitalize.
But we have a password manager that has a master password that saves all your passwords, everything else.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like that's whatever you call it, password manager. And then a kind of if this then that type scenario, because you can set a lot of the stuff up with a trust like Mike is mentioning where it's like these are the things that happen when I pass away, all these sorts of things and certain people are involved and not, but just in like as a stopgap is I have a kind of a spreadsheet with all of the assets and like what to do and how here's the life insurance chunk. And for me, if I was to die or my wife and I were to die, it's about simplifying it and looking at your estate and what you have. And like, if I die with my life insurance policy, if we have to fire sale all of the real estate, is she going to be okay raising the kids? And they're going to be more than fine. They'll never have to think about anything again during the time of raising the children and all that stuff. My wife will be basically retired. She doesn't need the freaking real estate or the headache of that. So it's like, here's a good strategy. Here's who you talk to about these properties. Here's how you should sell these. So I just kind of have a if this, then that type scenario, depending on when. And then I just update that annually. Probably should do it quarterly, but that's kind of like my stopgap.
I think that's more than 99% of people do.
Totally. I just played this scenario in my head, Dan, where you passed away. Very sad.
That's why he's got a smile on his face.
And your wife gets like the red envelope that says like master password on it. And she opens it. And in there is just written midget lover 69 as your password to get into everything. She's like, God damn it. God damn it. I knew it all along. But if you are a real estate wholesaler and flipper and you want to be around other people that are looking to grow and expand your businesses in this ever-changing economy, then you need to check out our Scale community. Go to collectingkeys.com/scale and you can get all the details there. But long story short, we are a small, tight-knit little group of serious real estate entrepreneurs that are looking to really make massive income and not just passive income through this ever-changing economy. So if real estate wholesaling and flipping is kind of your thing, go to collectingkeys.com/scale. You can book a call with me on there if you want, and I'd love to see if you'd be a good fit.
The other thing that I guess kind of ties along with the whole accident and stuff is a lot of people in the, fire, retire early community that all do this is always like, okay, when do you do the Dave Ramsey approach of just live on rice and beans, delay gratification, cut your expenses, which my wife and I have lived under our means pretty much our whole lives. Like, we've never really been extravagant. Even when we were both pharmacists, we didn't really blow any large amounts of money. So all that to say is I kind of just said, fuck it. I'm in a portion now where we have a little bit of wealth. We have some equity. So we bought a 2025 Audi as my new car. And it was pre-owned. I mean, it's only got 3,000 miles on it, but it's a $60,000 $60,000
Still couldn't go brand new
car. No, I still can't go brand new. No, that was okay with that. So now I drive a nice car that, I've been wanting for a very long time. So
hell yeah.
This is always my take on this is people try to go backwards with their money. Just go forwards. If you focus on making enough money that you have wiggle room, it doesn't matter. You don't need to do the rice and beans thing, right? And even if you do inflate your lifestyle a little bit, let's say you're at the point where you're spending $250 to $500,000 a year, right, on your lifestyle, which is pretty extravagant for most people. That's not like extremely crazy, but like that's living like a pretty sweet lifestyle. You probably have a very nice house, you have very nice cars, you can fly first class to Europe as a family a couple times a year. You can do a lot in that kind of price range. If you do that, but you have $5 million in assets, right? And like it gives your family the ability to continue that lifestyle, wind down that lifestyle, or make moves without needing to like suddenly have the head cut off. Right. And so it's all about perspective.
Yep.
And you know, people are like, well, we got to like live super meager in a defense thing. It's like, or you live very aggressively by learning to make a ton of money and actually just stacking that equity for yourself or that cash or that net worth. And then you can live however you want. Then if bad stuff does happen, then you deal with it then, but it gives you some runway.
Cutting your expenses to nothing is an uphill battle. Because if inflation, like we talk about, is going to continue to go up, you're fighting something that it's like
you can't control.
Fighting against the water that's coming at you, right? Like you're fighting upstream. That's tough. So
it is. Country music phenom Tim McGraw has a song entitled "Live Like You Were Dying." It's very reminiscent of this. You know, what would you do differently? Would you buy an Audi? Would you like what are you doing? Are you actually living the life that you have envisioned or want to live? I think too often, especially in the real estate world, people are so worried about numbers. And Mike and I see it a lot on the lending side because people are like, oh, that's $12 a month in cash flow. It's like, are you kidding me, dude? You're getting $100,000 back in a cash out refi, dude. Who cares about $12 a month? Like, live your life. But I think it's natural. And it's just a culture around the industry outside of all the flyboys with the Lamborghinis who are all posing at their guru shit. But like most real estate investors on the average are known to be cheap and numbers people. And that's how you get to where you're at because you're trying to build wealth over a long period of time. But really you should, I mean, like, are you at least, what percentage are you able to live your life every day? If you're not living what you want to live, even a little bit, you're probably on the wrong track.
I mean, the whole purpose to go on your own and do this business is to lead the life that you want to live, right? So like, I don't think a lot of people want to be eating take-home meals, leftovers for every meal 5 days a week, or, you know, like, or driving a 2000 Toyota Prius or whatever it may be. So that decision made it a lot easier because of the active income that we have.
I would say the people that make that the ultimate flex, it's because they are either not actually that successful or they are trying to sell you a dream and they are trying to relate to you as a poor person that is not like them. Right. That's my general opinion. But especially because like if you make like a little bit of money buying like, you know, an Audi or driving a kind of shitty car, like it isn't honestly that much money. Like that's when I kind of realized that Dan and I had made it. This was years ago when I just met up with Brian Dossie in Florida and he let me drive his Ferrari. And I was like, I realized I'm not a car guy at all at that point in my life because I did not get a lot of that personally. It was a cool experience, but I was horrified I was going to crash it. And I was like, I do not care about cars. And then I was like, I wonder what this costs. And I was like, oh, that's it? Like, bro, that's suddenly it's so unimpressive to me. Like if I was to go and buy one, it was like a few $1,000s a month, which is a lot if you're working a W-2 job and you have kind of like a fixed standard income. But if you have a business where you occasionally pop off like an $80,000 or $100,000 a month, you're like, I could pay for the whole thing with like a good October. You know, it doesn't matter. Like honestly.
Yeah. And we put like half down, right, on the car, and the rest of it's financed at like 5.5%. But my credit score's in the 800. So I was like, I guess got like tier 1 credit or whatever. It's a 5.5%. So all I have to say, my payment's like $560 a month. We don't even have, that's our only car payment. So,
you know, and who cares, right? And even though, so you bought a depreciating asset, it doesn't matter because on your total balance sheet, it's like a thing that's in the dusty closet in the corner. It doesn't matter.
I love that you brought that up about the buying a liability piece. And I almost like made an example of this on social media, but we refinanced outs with you guys where I literally pulled out $50K and now it's rented for $2,000 a month. And my PITI plus expenses is like $1,350, $1,400.
Oh, nice.
So literally that one deal not only paid for the down payment, but pays for the payment going forward.
There we go.
Which is how, if anyone's listening to this, that's how wealthy people stay wealthy or create.
Totally. Because also you pull that $50,000, it's not like you pay taxes on that.
Exactly.
Right. You just got that money out and it's on a liability, a debt that is being paid off by another person. Like that's where the acceleration of wealth in real estate really comes. But, you know, that's the thing that for some people, you have to have like an appetite for debt. You have to be willing to accept that, yes, there's always the chance for that to go sideways. But if you're a financially responsible person, the chances of that are honestly relatively low.
One thing I did realize during this whole thing, because I was out of commission for a couple of days, is like the business still ran, but it didn't run well.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to figure out what's like going on there. Like, yeah, the VA still did their jobs. My acquisition still did their jobs. Assistant was still doing her jobs, but like I still need to be involved to make sure like people are still doing their shit. And so like I got to figure that part out. But
was there a lot of questions that they had for you that they needed from you, or is it just stuff that you needed to tell them that they didn't know yet?
More the latter.
Okay.
Yeah. But honestly, it's like, it's the things that frustrate me. It's like, hey, I'm done with this. What should I do next? I'm like, use your brain. Like you should probably know what to do now. Like
that's employees though, dude. That's so hard. I mean, you deal with that all the time. Like,
yeah.
So ultimately, right, when it comes to an employee, they're highly motivated to just be done working because they can do nothing. Like if they go and they think and they do extra work, they know that you're just going to bring them more work later, or that's going to be something that they have to do on like a regular basis, you know, and that's like, I don't know, probably 90% of employees would fall into that bucket.
Yeah.
That's where, you know, finding employees is so hard because you need people that aren't going to be like that. You can try to like incentivize people with commission structures or bonuses or different things, but that doesn't work for most people. And like with your size business, Dylan, I would say that is the hardest part to kind of get out of that because you don't quite have enough money to like pay an A player. And if you do happen to find one that comes into your business, there's also a very good chance that in the next 12 months, they go, I'm just going to go do this myself because I'm basically doing that, but for this guy. Because you're also not providing like enough financial security for them to get like golden handcuffs.
Right. Yeah.
So when you grow, it gives you a little more flexibility. But they're hard to find.
There are unicorns out there where you'll find that employee that they just want to be with you or alongside you.
Oh, yeah.
I think right now, and I think it changes, like Mike and I in the lending business, we definitely don't have employees that will just stop working, right? Like they may not do things the way we need them to or what, you know, there's things where obviously we want, you know, more efficiency and we're building this newer business, but like we definitely don't have an issue of like lack of work or them seeking new work, like which is great because they're self-motivated.
That comes from creating a mission though that they're excited for as well, right? Like, I mean, we only have 3 employees over there. So we have, you know, Robbie does all our processing. We have Chance, it's our LO, and then we have an admin.
Me and Chance are best friends, by the way. We talk like daily right now.
And see, and Chance is great. He's super personable, but like I stole him from a lending company that was very stagnant, and he has an opportunity to grow with a company that is in his area of expertise that has like growth potential for him, like very significant growth potential. And also it's very dynamic. Like we're changing a lot. He told us, we went to lunch yesterday, that he has had the most successful 30 days as a loan officer than he's ever had in his career.
Wow.
For a company that is probably less than a tenth of the size of the one that he came from. Right. So it's unbelievably small. And then we have Robbie, who's been with Dan and I for almost 3 years now. And he's just like so bought into like the vision of kind of like working for us and being part of this operation and what that looks like. Cause he's been a part of us when we launched our partnership program. We were pushing all that stuff. He was a part of Scale, right? He helped us build a lot of that out. He helped us go down the whole franchise rabbit hole when we were doing that. He's been a part of like 5 different things and he's still here because he sees the potential and he wants to be a part of that. Right. But it's really, really hard to get that and find people that are willing to do that. Because at the same time, we've also had like 80 employees that have come through that no longer work for us anymore.
I think the point that drives that home, and I hope you're okay with me sharing, was I know at one point Robbie went to you when you guys were winding things down with like the partnership, was like, hey, I'll take less money if you just like don't get rid of me.
For sure. Yeah, literally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and I know you didn't do that, like to be clear, but like that just shows that level of commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, he's dedicated to the mission for sure. There was a couple headlines I would love to round out the show with if you guys would want to partake in this.
We got to talk about the big one because, I mean, it's been all the talk of the town.
What's the big one?
Yeah, I don't know. Where's this going?
The big one that all the real estate dorks talking about.
Jimmy Kimmel getting fired. That is the one you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, I have my own opinions on that.
Sure you do.
No, yeah, it's the Fed interest rate piece is the big one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's hit that one. That is a good one to talk about.
Because that's like all the real estate dorks are coming out saying, this is what we've been waiting for. But then the 10-year went up. So I think that's funny.
But so the 10-year went up, but mortgage rates are still kind of trending down. I think it's more of a supply and demand mismatch. Like, because they follow the 10-year, yes, but there's a band that they follow it in. right? That, I mean, what I saw that if you're an FHA, so you can be more clear on the DSCR side, but FHA borrower right now, if you got a good DTI, good credit, I mean, you can get high fives, low sixes on a 30-year. That's a lot better than it was the past couple of years.
So let me ask you this, Dylan. There's a lot of bulls, over the last year or two, or like, oh, it's too late. The Fed's going to do too little, too late. It's going to hurt the economy by pushing out these rate drops. Is this a too little, too late scenario, or is it fine? It just is what it is, and supply and demand mismatch. Demand's kind of dwindled recently. And is it a big deal?
It's hard to say, Dan, because from historical perspective, if you just look at their track record, the Fed is notoriously always too late, right? In fact, in the last time they cut during something like this, it was like the August 2007 is when they started cutting rates when things were at their high, and then shit hit the fan a couple months later, right? And so there was always chatter then, like they should have cut a lot earlier to help with all of these job losses, et cetera. But the difference is now, one, we have a lot higher baseline inflation than we do, which is you don't typically lower interest rates in that environment. And assets are still like at record highs. Stock market's at record highs. Real estate's still pretty much at record highs on a relative basis. And so this is like the whole stagflationary argument where a lot of comments is like, this is the worst it can get. You have rising prices with job loss. Right. And so I can't give an answer for you. I know it's not great, but I don't think it ends well.
No, I think it ends well for people like you who have assets.
Agree.
Right? I was listening to a guy talking, I don't remember who it was, or maybe I was reading an article after this, was that like, if you own assets, good for you, because they're going to keep going up due to an inflationary situation. If you don't have assets, like, you're going to be more poor. You're going to be more poor than you were before compared to the people with assets.
Top 10% of income earners account for 50% of American spending right now.
Isn't that crazy?
How much was that? How much percentage?
Top 10% of American citizens, the wealthy, account for 50% of domestic spending.
I believe that. Yeah, that makes sense. That's crazy.
And I would say we've been seeing this trend for a while, but now more than ever, it is very apparent the split between the haves and the have-nots, not only just because of that, but also at like an institutional investing level. So like, Dan and I on the lending side of things, over the past like month, we've really gotten a ton of exposure to like big institutional money, right? So we went to this event down in Southern California 3 weeks ago, and we were meeting guys down there that, they talk in the hundreds of millions to billions, right? They're not talking about hundreds of thousands of millions like we do in the real estate, like residential real estate world. These are like huge money people. They are so aggressively seeking to place their money places. It is unreal. Like depending on your loan to value, it is very easy to get DSCRs that are below the owner occupant home loans right now, which has like never happened.
Never.
Right?
Never happened.
We've had people that are like getting stuff at 60% LTV. We're quoting them in like the low to mid fives on a 30-year fixed institutional debt.
That's wild.
Like that's insane.
Yeah. But think from their perspective, I guess, are they going to lend people who they can back it with their current balance sheet and the collateral? Or do you lend to someone who has student loans at a 96.5% leverage ratio?
Exactly. You're so right. And that's they're wanting to lend to that 10% of people that you mentioned before that are 50% of the consumer spending. Because do you know what? That 50% of consumer spending can also be used to pay off their debts if things go sideways. Right.
I wonder if this thought just came to me, if there's any chatter amongst the elites and the governments themselves, if they know that Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and all of the government sponsored entities are going to go private and none of these debts are going to be backed by the government anymore. So like that demand for that is going to go way down. And so why lend Sally, who has a 400 credit score, that's if it's not backed by the government?
I'm sure there is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the Fed said in their statement they're going to continue to reduce their balance sheet, meaning sell off and not buy more mortgage-backed securities.
Yeah, I think the QT that they're doing now is not actual selling; it's just not renewing of the debt. But most of it is MBS, not treasuries. So yes, correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of wild. So yeah, I think that's a really good observation, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine so. And what the end game is, I have no idea.
I just think if you were to take a poll of even real estate investors, someone who's not in the lending space and said, hey, what do you think's lower today? 60% LTV DSCR loan or a FHA owner occupied 5% down? I bet 90% of those people or higher take the FHA one, and they're wrong. Of
course they would. And they're absolutely wrong. It's not even like comparable. Like you're a whole interest percentage less, right? And not only that, but the fees alone to get into that DSCR are going to be significantly cheaper as well than all the bullshit they make you pay as a FHA.
So why is my loan 6.8%, Mike? Just kidding. I think it's 80% LTV. That's why.
Yeah, it's the 80% LTV. Like the ones that we've been doing cheap. Like there's been a lot of people that are doing rate and terms that were at like, when they refinanced in 2022, they got stuck with like a 7.5. But now they're like just doing a rate and term at 62%, and they're getting 5.5, 5.25. There is a huge amount of incentive, I would say, for people that have good credit and are reducing, like have less leverage. The rate drop that you see from like the 70 to 80% range to like the 67% range is like asinine. It's like almost 2%.
Yeah, that's huge.
And so, yeah, like that really, really is, they're really encouraging people to not fully stretch themselves.
Can we talk real quick about how I'm doing a loan with you guys? And this is not your fault, to clarify, but we got an appraisal for someone who went inside the property for $375,000. And I was like, that's baller. I was expecting like $350, but $375, I'll take it. We're going to do a 75% LTV loan. And we did a CDA, the desktop analysis, right? Comes back at $250,000. Completely blew up.
This is the one that we moved it away from that hedge fund though, right? We're going somewhere else.
We did. We're trying again now. But like what Chance tells me is like there's a chance it happens again. We just hope it doesn't, right? Like,
well, there's always a chance, but I would say that the people that we're moving you to are much more aggressive. We've almost shifted all of our loans away from that first one and are moving over to the other one because these guys want to play ball. Like they're willing to do a lot of stuff. Dan and I, we've been joking, is like, did they have a $500 billion fund? Is that what they said they're trying to like fill?
I don't remember. Yeah, they got something.
It's insane.
That is ginormous. That's like top 1% of fund. Like that's ginormous.
It's huge. And like they're based out of Colorado and they're like aggressively trying to capture a piece of private debt. And Dan and I are joking constantly. We're like, we got to just like take as much as we can from these people. Because right now we can literally beat anyone in the market on DSCR. I'm so unbelievably confident of that, depending on the LTV and everything else. But eventually we're going to get a call from like our guy over there. He's going to be like on a helicopter out of the city. He's gonna be like, sorry guys, shit's done. I'm headed to Nicaragua. See you later. And he's going to just disappear. Yeah. So, yeah.
He's going to snap his phone
totally
after that and throw it out the helicopter.
I stomp on it. Yeah.
It's so true.
It's just what pissed me off about that whole situation is some guy who has not been in the house, sitting in his desk, like an armchair laptop, is like, I think this place is worth 40% less than what a person who's been inside the place thinks.
And the thing that's so frustrating about that is you paid $800 or whatever for a professional to do that. And then, like you said, some paper pusher is just like, nah, fuck it, override it. I'm like, come on, guys. Mm-hmm. Then why even make you pay for the appraisal? Like, just don't even do it.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, you're right. Not our fault. We're just what's called the correspondent. We're just one that talks to you. We get to serve you the shit sandwich from them after they tell you to go F yourself.
I can always tell how the conversation is going to go, and Chance calls me and like his tone. I pick out like bad news or good news.
That's good feedback. So. I'll beat that out of him. He needs to always be happy. That's how my team needs to be calling.
Talk in a high-pitched voice. So, Dylan, I'm really going to tell you that your loan's fucked.
Yeah. Hey, Dylan. Hey, thanks so much. It's really quick. I got to tell you. So they reassessed your loan, and I know it said 370. We're actually looking at like 250. So what we're going to need to do.
so we're going to just move forward that. Wait, back up a second. Hold on. Get that shit-eating grin off your face.
Awesome. Well, Dylan, I appreciate you sharing all that, dude. Glad you're okay. And I think it was, led to a good conversation on here. If that's the smallest consolation ever.
We'll get a few more views out of your near-death experience. So I'm so super pumped.
And you bought a new car. You had a great reason to.
Car that had 150,000 miles. I drove for 8 years, so needed it.
There you go. Did you get the A8? What'd you get?
No, it's a 2025 A5 S line. So it's like the sportier kind. Yeah.
Sweet, man. Well,
not an A8, but it's nice.
Not an A8, but it's nice.
Next time, if you're in a school zone, instead of doing 55, you can do 85 in the same sort of stretch there. So be careful.
Yeah, how are the kids in that school bus doing, bud?
You two are the fucking worst.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you want more from us, you can shoot us a follow on Instagram. I am at Mike_invest. Dan is at InvestorMan Dan. And Dylan is at Dylan_does_deals. Shoot us a follow and send us a DM to let us know what you think of the show.